Coming up tonight, students of the Combined Services Military Academy have carried out a general graduation rehearsal in the presence of the Minister Director of Civil Cabinet at the Presidency, Samuel Mvondo Ayolo. The consumption of alcohol in Cameroonian schools is said to be alarming and facilitated by drinking spots that share boundaries with educational establishments. And infrastructure is set in the southwest region for CHAN 2020 and AFCON 2021, with the population waiting to be treated to excellent soccer and the excitement it brings. The details right now. Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzeka in Yaoundé. The 37th batch of students of the Combined Services Military Academy, EMIA, has carried out a general rehearsal session in the preparation for their solemn graduation ceremony. Today's rehearsal session at the Military Headquarters Brigade was supervised by the Minister Director of the Civil Cabinet of the Presidency of the Republic, Samuel Mvondo Ayolo. Kilian Dandifon was there.
It was a simulation of what will happen during the solemn graduation ceremony of the 37th batch of students of the Combined Military Services Academy, EMIA, when the Civil Cabinet will make public the date of the event. For now, it is the general rehearsal that ends a series of practice sessions, named after Major General Jacob Koji, who died on the battlefront defending Cameroon against the terrorist sect Boko Haram in the far north region. The special batch of 182 aspirant cadet officers have completed their 3 years of multifaceted military and administrative training. In a day-long general rehearsal session at the Military Headquarters Brigade in Yaoundé, where their solemn graduation ceremony will take place when the day is announced by the Civil Cabinet, these synchronized slow steps speak of a batch determined to defend the country with honor and loyalty. The state protocol, presidential security, presidential special command brigade, presidential guard, the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, and several other security and administrative authorities revise the roles they will play on the D-Day, all supervised by Minister, Director of the Civil Cabinet, Samuel Mvondo Ayolo, who was visibly satisfied at the end of the exercise, which also registered a military parade with all the corps on the rendezvous.
The 37th batch of the Combined Services Military Academy, EMIA, has been christened Major General Jacob Koji in memory of the brave soldier who fought to defend Cameroon from Boko Haram terrorists. The general, who was the first commander of the 4th Joint Military Region, died in a helicopter crash on January 22, 2017. Elvis Teke brings back memories of the fallen hero.
He is credited for drawing up and implementing the military strategy that knocked out the terrorist sect Boko Haram from the far north region of Cameroon. Major General Jacob Koji would, however, not complete the implementation of the strategy as a helicopter crash in Chofol in the far north region on January 22, 2017 will end his military exploits. He died at the age of 56 after serving under the national flag for 34 years within the infantry. Born in Mogo Day in the far north region of Cameroon on January 27, 1960, Major General Jacob Koji became the highest-ranking officer of Cameroon to have died while fighting the Boko Haram insurgency. Jacob Koji attended school in Mokolo in the 70s before himself becoming a student of EMIA in 1983 and graduated under the rigor and moralization badge. He served in various parts of the country in different capacities within Cameroon's military till August 2015, when he was promoted by the President of the Republic to Brigadier General, commander of the 4th Military Region and head of Emergence 4 operation that was fighting Boko Haram. The general who died alongside his close aides in Chofol, in Bogo subdivision, in the Jamare division of the Far North region, during his return from a reconnaissance mission, was the first to have led the 4th Joint Military Region that was newly created. He will always be remembered in Cameroon's army as his name is the Christian name of the 37th batch of the Combined Services Military Academy, EMIA.
The director of the UN Development Coordination Office for Africa saluted Cameroon's engagement towards sustainably developing development and says the UN will accompany the country to attain Agenda 2030. Moyaradzi Krenan was speaking in Yaoundé after an audience with Prime Minister Joseph John Gute. The UN official was accompanied by the coordinator of UN systems in Cameroon, Allegra Bayoche. Christian Chiatam reports.
Cameroon joined other UN member countries in 2015 to adopt Agenda 2030 for sustainable development. Since then, the country has been in the process of prioritizing the 17 goals and has also been working towards using them to eliminate hunger, inequalities, and to promote sustainable development. The visit of the Regional Director of the UN Development Coordination Office for Africa to Prime Minister Joseph John Gute was to explore ways of boosting Cameroon's efforts in this direction.
We're discussing how the UN can respond to the challenges of sustainable development in Cameroon, how we can respond to the implementation of the 2030 agenda, leaving no one behind, contributing to an inclusive economy, and how the UN can, under the leadership of the government, support those initiatives.
The UN official has commended Cameroon for playing the front role as far as the pursuit of Agenda 2030 is concerned.
Cameroon has always been a leader in the context of the General Assembly, in the context of ECOSOC, in approving the resolutions which provide for the implementation of the 2030 agenda. So it is very much a leader at the global level as well as at the country level.
Munyaranzi Chenje says the United Nations will continue supporting Cameroon in her efforts towards sustainable development and the elimination of poverty and inequalities.
Elecam is now packaging and dispatching the last sets of electoral material and kits to its divisional and council offices in view of the February 19 elections. While political parties are collecting their campaign papers, it is in a bid to respect deadlines. Ebenezer Kanga reports.
For the February 9, 2020 legislative and municipal elections, Elecam placed commands for the production of electoral materials in the Cameroon News and Publishing Corporation, SOPECAM, the National Printing Press, and some private printing houses. SOPECAM, for example, received a command of 33 million campaign and ballot papers, while the National Printing Press received a command of 9 million envelopes. Be it in SOPECAM, the National Printing Press, or the other private printing houses, the jobs have been completed and delivered even before the deadlines. Elecam is now packaging and dispatching the last set of electoral materials and kits to its divisional and council offices. Political parties are also collecting their campaign papers. The packaging and dispatching of electoral materials as well as distribution of campaign papers are taking place in the logistics base of Elecam, located in the 101 Air Force Base in Yaoundé.
We can confidently say now that, loud and clear, elections will effectively take place on the 9th of February, and all the polling stations will be furnished with all the relevant materials.
While on a visit to assess the level of production of the electoral materials, the Minister of Territorial Administration, who is government's agent in any electoral process, expressed satisfaction with the job done.
I was even happy to see that the ballot papers going to the northwest and southwest regions have been printed, which is a clear indication, as we mentioned during the governors' conference, that elections will hold in all the 10 regions, in the 58 divisions, and in all the 360 subdivisions.
To officials of Elecam, the elections management body is set to organize hitch-free, fair, and transparent elections.
Potential voters in Yaoundé are awaiting the launch of campaigns for the February 9 polls next Saturday, January 25. Many say they expect messages of hope, especially for the restive northwest and southwest regions, while others say they do not expect anything from politicians. Gerard Nanji reports.
Expectations are high, feelings are mixed ahead of the launch of political campaigns of the February 9th legislative and municipal elections in Cameroon.
I don't think that somebody will go and stand and say he wants to campaign. To who and for what? While the country is in flames.
I hope they should be able to meet the aspiration of the population so that at least we can have a better future.
Yaoundé city dwellers say the campaign messages of the different political actors should be that of hope, especially to the populations of the restive northwest and southwest regions.
They need people who will come to encourage them, to tell them what they should do to come out of this dilemma.
The President of the Republic, who is the head of our nation, should call for a immediate ceasefire to permit all the partisans on the ground to see whether we can participate on this legislative and municipal election.
Notwithstanding the security challenges that has enveloped these two regions, many say voters should be allowed to exercise their civic responsibility.
It is only from our votes that we can be able to express our hearts.
To this Yaoundé inhabitant, peace is paramount.
We just want peace. I in particular, I just want peace.
Over and above all, it is hoped that the electoral process proceeds hitch-free from campaigns through voting to the proclamation of results.
Ahead of the February 9 twin elections in the country, the network More Women in Politics has launched an appeal to women in the littoral region to massively participate and vote for women. The network says by so doing, more women will rise to leadership positions. Mercy Ashu reports.
The countdown is real and the women folk cannot afford to be left out of the race as the twin elections approach come February 9, 2020. The network More Women in Politics is one of such groups mobilizing women to take up the position of mayors and councils across the regions in the country.
We are at the littoral region to boost the energy, to boost the capacity of female candidates at the twins election of 9 February 2020. Since 2016, we have been leading those ladies. We have been enhancing their capacities.
Accompanying her in this campaign are over 100 women who are committed to sensitize the population of the littoral region and the women folk in general as they prepare to cast their votes on February 9, 2020. The sensitization exercise is also being transmitted on local media platforms, including the social media networks. Professor Justine Defo condemned the boycott of women whom she says represents a majority of the population and who can impact development and serve as an instrument in the electoral process.
Still in Douala, numerous projects are underway to develop and modernize seaports within the national territory. With the construction of new infrastructure, the government wants to attain its development objectives for the country and upgrade services at the port to meet international standards. A case in point is the Bonaberi Douala Seaport, which is a huge construction site with many innovative projects on course. Sally Ebenyenyoke reports.
The revolution underway at the Bonaberi Douala Seaport started in 2018. It is in tune with the promises of the head of state to develop and modernize port installations. The Port Authority of Douala has embarked on a multitude of projects, with the biggest being the removal of wrecks. Security around the premises is another emblematic project intended to upgrade the Bonaberi Douala port.
Building the fence, something like 25 kilometers of fence. The port will be secure with a network of cameras along the port to control everything.
Construction and reconstruction of the road network to ease circulation in Douala and the sub-region are almost complete.
We have to construct 8 kilometers of roads between the shipping yard, we call Chantier Naval, till Perenco, d'un côté.
The oil jetty for the discharge of petroleum products for redistribution is also under construction.
All the petrol they are using in Cameroon coming by the sea. And all jetty is the devices we permit to receive this product.
On completion, these projects will contribute to the modernization of the Bonaberi Douala ports and lead to an increase in output, attractiveness and competitivity.
Improving Cameroon's post and telecommunications sector for quality services to users is the focus of discussions at the two-day annual conference of officials of central and devolved services of the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications in Yaoundé, chaired by Minister Minette Libom-Lilikeng. The conference is an opportunity to evaluate activities carried out in 2019. Yoti Kalilisonge has the rest of that story.
Reflections on how to make Cameroon's post and telecommunications more competitive, creative and attractive guide these officials of central and external services, as well as those of structures under the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications at this annual conference. Transforming Cameroon's digital economy this year is their major challenge.
What we are going to do is to improve what we are doing before in the way of working with startups and to inform and help the public to use the cyberspace.
Economist Babi Sakana, understanding the stakes, emphasizes during his inaugural lesson that manufacturing products is the heart of the country's digital economy, as it will reduce the cost of importing equipment such as laptops. But he also insists on the importance of statistics.
Mr. Babi Sakana helped us to see that we have poor statistics. You cannot manage if you cannot measure. So we are going to introduce this in our roadmap so that we can show what has been done and where we want to go.
More recommendations intended to boost Cameroon's digital ecosystem will be adopted at the end of the conference.
Officials of the Central and Devolved Services and organizations under the tutelage of the Ministry of Social Affairs have taken part in a two-day annual conference in Yaoundé. The aim of the conference is to ameliorate the visibility of social actions carried out by the ministry in emergency situations. Cynthia Etim.
Sources from the Ministry of Social Affairs revealed that the crisis in the restive part of the country has exposed many women, men, and children to violence. It has also caused many others to become vulnerable.
We notice a steady increase of the number, and as we speak now, information from the field indicates that there are 102, amongst which we have seven kills.
It is therefore within this context that officials of the Central and Devolved Services, as well as organizations under the supervision of the ministry, are brainstorming on what has been done in view of proposing ways of ameliorating the department's contribution to socially vulnerable persons.
What are the challenges that we are facing on the field, and what is it that we think could be done so that we can give out better services to our population and make the country better? We also think that there is need for people to recognize the work that social workers do. Quite often our intervention is minimized because probably we don't have so much of the cash, but when you want to convert the psychosocial intervention that we carry out on the field into cash, it's billions.
At the end of the two-day annual conference, the participants from the 10 regions of the country are expected to be edified on the institutional positioning, the legal framework, and the actions of the Ministry of Social Affairs in the management of emergency situations.
The consumption of alcohol in schools is becoming rampant. Students are caught with sachets of whiskey and bottles of beer right on campus on a daily basis. The phenomenon is compounded by the fact that schools share boundary with drinking spots. Rana Jusali has been finding out. Her report.
From the wrapping, it looks like chocolate, but the content may be deadly. It is alcohol smuggled into this secondary school by a student.
It's a rampant situation that we experience almost every day. The students with such things like alcohol in sachets like this one, or just tablets. This is an example of one tablet.
The consumption of alcohol in schools is taking alarming proportions, and the side effects are visible.
When he comes back drunk like this, you will notice that in the afternoon, after the long break, he keeps on sleeping. They don't take down notes, or when some are agitated, they disturb in class a lot.
The law, which states that drinking spots be situated at least 200 meters from schools, has been snubbed in neighborhoods like Essos and Kondongo, where bars cohabit with schools.
Students come here all the time wanting to buy alcohol, but we send them away. Some of them even take off their school jackets just so we do not recognize them.
Schools carry out routine checks amongst other security measures, but students still manage to jump over the fence and have their way.
We go to classes each period to call names. The discipline masters are posted in some specific areas around the fence.
Where students have learned to be tricksters, therefore, it is recommended schools reinforce their disciplinary measures to avoid a situation where these students get out of hand.
The Minister of Public Works today received New Year wishes from his staff in the nation's capital. Emmanuel Nganu Jumisi used the occasion to call on his collaborators to redouble efforts in 2020 to maintain the excellent results obtained by the ministry in 2019 as concerns road infrastructural development. Amongst priority projects for 2020, the Secretary General enumerated the continuation and completion of projects ongoing ahead of AFCON 2021, the start of construction works on the Bolawa-Kribi-Akomde Road, and completion of the Ring Road in the northwest region of the country. The Minister of the Economy, Alamin Usman May, says attaining the country's 2020 growth objective will require job and wealth creation opportunities. He was speaking during a ceremony to receive New Year wishes from staff of his ministry. Clarice Aretakan reports.
Good, but could and should do better in ensuring that the structural transformation of Cameroon's economy meets the state's development objectives. This is the challenge staff of the Ministry of Economy have been tasked with addressing in 2020. Programs put in place to accelerate growth need to be reinforced to meet the 5% target. Conditions to attract investments strengthened in order to take the human capital to 0.59 and the Human Development Index to 0.7. Attaining these goals will require more job and wealth creation opportunities stemming from good governance, the improvement of the business climate, and effective decentralization. With the 2020 priorities spelled out, staff were told the time to get to work is now.
The Minister of Decentralization and Local Development has described the Code on Local Councils and Regional Assemblies as an engine to drive the devolution of powers and resources to the base. George Elanga Obam was speaking during a goal-setting workshop of central and decentralized services of his ministry, which ended with the exchange of New Year wishes. Emmanuel Avemu was there.
The General Code of Regional and Local Elections has been described as a driving engine through which officials of the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development will drive the decentralization process in the country to success. The officials have been studying the code in Yaoundé for the past 4 days, and after which they say they are ready for work.
We are going to have elections, and after elections, we have to take care of those who are going to be elected to make sure that they are in the same vein, and just all of us pushing towards acceleration, deepening and accelerating decentralization.
They are thus aware the success of decentralization in Cameroon lies in how well they follow up the procedure and its implementation on the field, but equally getting the population to understand what has to change.
We are going to have a lot of training, a lot of sensitization. We hope our population are going to appreciate what the president is setting up and what we in the ministry are doing.
Then the usual handshake and best wishes, Mr. Minister, came to close 4 days of goal setting for officials of this ministry who are now ready for the task ahead.
The minister delegate in charge of public contracts today received New Year wishes from his staff. Talba Mala called on his collaborators to make sure the award and execution of contracts respect norms. Luma Slim Davis reports.
The amphitheater of the National School of Administration and Magistracy was full to capacity. The joy was immense as the officials of various categories of the Ministry of Public Contracts filed past to wish a Happy New Year 2020 to their ministerial head, Ibrahim Talba Mala. The occasion provided an opportunity for the Secretary General of the Ministry, FRIST, Gerald Nasako, to make a rundown of the Ministry's activities for 2019, a balance sheet which was described as positive by the Minister Delegate Talba Mala. On the occasion, meritorious workers were given medals, while others received certificates of recognition. Talba Mala, while wishing a Happy New Year 2020, in return to the staff, called on them to be present at all times and conscious of their task to get better results. The ceremony was spiced with popular music and comedy show.
The Minister of Social Affairs, Pauline Irene Gene, has also received New Year wishes from officials of Central and Devolved Services of her ministry. During the ceremony today in Yaoundé, Minister Pauline Irene Gene enjoined the staff to work in synergy and to be assiduous so as to bring the ministry's goals for 2020 under execution. Cynthia Team reports.
For the year 2020, the Ministry of Social Affairs will have to work harder to meet challenges such as the protection of vulnerable persons. Efforts will equally be doubled on national solidarity, social justice, as well as the psychosocial follow-up of refugees and children who are victims of violence.
It is in the light of the need for an appropriate social response to this worsening situation of social vulnerability.
The commitment to promote social actions was taken by these staff and officials of the Central and Devolved Services of the Ministry of Social Affairs, who shook hands with the Social Affairs boss, Pauline Irene Gene. They equally used the opportunity to re-echo the phrase Happy New Year to her, bearing in mind what they have to do so as to attain the objectives of the ministry for this year. A staff going on retirement was honored during the New Year wishes ceremony that saw some talented staff and choir of the Ministry of Social Affairs graced the event with songs of joy.
The President of the National Communication Council has urged his collaborators to objectively monitor information disseminated by media organs during the twin municipal and legislative elections. Peter Isoka made the appeal this Wednesday in Yaoundé while receiving New Year wishes from the NCC staff. Details with Romeo Kenye.
Last year, the National Communication Council treated over 45 files of media organs that violated the ethics and deontology of journalism. For the year 2020, the structure is aiming for better professionalism in the sector, and this will have to start with the twin municipal and legislative elections.
It is very important that those elections are run well for the edification even of our society. And the National Communication Council will be responsible, particularly in overseeing what the media does.
For the media to be responsible during the period, NCC Chairperson Peter Isoka says certain behaviors have to be avoided.
To be responsible, to keep to the norms of the profession, and particularly not to encourage violence.
While receiving New Year wishes from close collaborators, NCC President enjoined them to remain real professionals by being objective in monitoring media organs in the country.
The minister delegate at the presidency in charge of Supreme State Audit, Rose Mba Acha, has received New Year wishes for the year 2000 from staff of her ministry. During the event in Yaoundé today, the minister called on her staff to work hard for a successful 2020. Natasha Lehman-Losha was there.
For the year 2020, workers of the Supreme State Audit Office will have to double efforts in fighting corruption and safeguarding public funds in Cameroon, as stressed by Minister Rose Mba Acha Formundam during the New Year wishes ceremony.
This year 2020, we'll do our best, do many more controls, and we will work in such a way that the head of state will be proud of us more than he has ever been before. And I pray that this year they will be assiduous, they will be prompt at work, and above all, there must be no corruption in them, because we are going out to check corruption. There are about 30 teams sent onto the field this year to control vote holders and managers.
The event unfolded in 3 stages, starting with homage paid to some workers going on retirement, followed by the award of medals to meritorious workers such as Officer of the Order of Valor, Cameroonian Order of Merit, and Medal of Knight of the Order of Valor. Then came the presentation of New Year wishes to the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of the Supreme State Audit Office.
Authorities of the waste management company Zakam in Bamenda have challenged personnel to redouble their efforts in keeping the city clean, despite the challenging security environment, at an event to acknowledge outstanding workers of Zakam company in Bamenda who received cash prizes of 500,000, 300,000 and 200,000 CFA francs each. The director of Zakam in Bamenda, Joseph Zamu, underlined that collaboration with the population is critical for keeping the town clean. Sona Loya reports from CRTV Northwest in Bamenda.
Persistence in crises to keep Bamenda clean. Equipment vandalized, workers molested and work interrupted 3 times in 2019. Yet, Izakam continued to shine the light to brighten Bamenda's hygienic landscape. They are Izakam brains working behind the scene. Their efforts have been identified and paid off. 90 Izakam workers in Bamenda, 80 in the voting process, and 3 winners.
Some days there was no activities now because of insecurity, but at the end we are trying our best. So I'm so happy for the prize because it was not easy. I worked very hard during the year, and I'm so happy for that.
He is joining 2 other workers to represent Bamenda at their annual feast at the head office in Douala. For the hierarchy of the waste management company in Bamenda, every worker is a winner and must continue to win the battle against unhygienic practices.
This award ceremony is somehow to encourage workers to be more determined and to better serve the public, because our duty is serving the public, and we want to encourage them as much as we can to give their best so that the population of Bamenda can be satisfied and feel encouraged to carry out their daily activity in a clean environment.
Immediately after the voting exercise, the best worker alongside others dived straight to the field with one goal: keeping Bamenda clean.
The Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Molikombe, who doubles as the chairperson of the local organizing committee of the 2020 CHAN and the 2021 AFCON, has expressed satisfaction with the level of infrastructure in Boya and Limbe. He visited the infrastructure recently, as Tanjong Levis Agbo reports.
Professor Narcisse Molikombe, accompanied by the governor of the Southwest region, Bernardo Kalia Bilai, and FECA football Seydou Bombon Joya, began with the inspection at the Moliko Misport Stadium, which was an opportunity for him to have a tete-a-tete discussion with the director of the stadium on how prepared they are to host a big sporting event such as the CHAN 2020. Moving down to Limbe, the convoy made its first stop at the Limbe Misport Stadium, which will be host to some matches in April. The director of the Limbe Misport Stadium, Mrs. Pascaline Wankimbua, presented some challenges faced at the stadium, but reassured the minister that all is set to host the competition. The Limbe Centenary Stadium and the Limbe Middle Farm Stadium, which will serve as training grounds for the competition according to the directors, are ready. The Sports and Physical Education Minister reiterated that his visit is to ensure that the various infrastructures are set to give the event the grandeur it deserves.
We are here today to ensure that all the stakeholders and all the parties are strongly mobilized to make sure that we are going to have a perfect organization of CHAN in April, and then of the AFCON in January and February of the next year.
It is evident that the minister is going back satisfied after his working visit, with an assurance that everything is set to host this football competition.
And already inhabitants of Boya are expressing satisfaction with the developments brought to them as hosts of the CHAN and AFCON. They are now waiting to be treated to good football and the excitements that come with it. Yvonne Esame Ngogo reports from Boya.
Most Boya inhabitants have expressed great joy about the fact that the Southwest region will be hosting both the 2020 CHAN and 2021 CAN.
Being an inhabitant of Boya, I feel privileged to witness a tournament like that.
I'm very excited, it comes, I think, it can come in a country maybe once in a while when you are still alive. So if it happens that I'm still alive, have just to be happy.
Which, according to them, the upcoming football tournament have brought about major development, and that they will also bring about economic boost when the competitions effectively kick off.
We are being one of those cities that will be hosting some of the teams. I think that we are going to experience some activities here that we have never experienced.
We need our roads to be innovated, mostly stampede. I think that if it happens in the area, they are going to see that road.
Most importantly, these Buea inhabitants and football lovers are expecting that amidst the socio-political crisis, CHAN 2020 will serve as a unifying factor and source of joy.
I think football is a unifying factor in Cameroon and the world at large. So I'm expecting that during this period, many things, hatred, anger will subside. And I think that will be a beginning of a new life that we have to experience.
For now, the structures have been put in place, and Buea inhabitants are calling on their brothers and sisters to contribute in making the upcoming football tournament successful.
And that ends the 7:30 news on CRTV. Join Adel Mbala at 8:30 for the news in the French language. I am Moki Edwin Kinzika in Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.